best you go.
Okay. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to this podcast, this amazing podcast that you all love. I'm so excited that this is the first time I'm recording my podcast live, not live as in with you, as in with my video on. And that's because the beautiful Deeksha invited me to do a collab with her on this conversation about consistency when it comes to the manifestation world. And we want to like dive into the bones of what it looks like to be consistent, the mind F's that stop us from getting there, and what we can start doing about it in order to surpass that. So, you want to introduce yourself?
Yes, thank you. Thank you for having me here. I'm Deeksha. I'm a manifestation self-concept coach. And what we'll be talking about today, like Rozana spoke, is consistency. And we touch the social, the cultural aspects of it and how it's all impacting your manifestation and why it's holding you back so much and what you can do about it. So I hope this is helpful for all of you.
Yeah, and I love that you asked me to do this collab because I know like we vibe and we've once done a post collab together on Instagram, which is like the
Yes.
character one about law of assumption, and I know it triggered some people. I was like, yes,
It did some triggering there, but it was good.
yeah, we love triggering. Like
It's our forte. Okay.
Okay, so when it comes to consistency, what gave you the idea to do this collab specifically? Like, what have you been seeing that's been showing up that made you think that, okay, so this is what we need to address in the community?
Right. I see a lot of clients who come to me struggle with consistency simply because all the information that is out there is just not made for women. It's catering to men, it's catering to their needs, it's revolving around their bodies and their minds and this and that, and that's not simply how consistency works for women, which is leading to a lot of frustration, which is leading to a lot of burnout. And then women kind of end up being in this place where they're like, oh, I'm not really doing enough, I'm not doing good enough, I cannot do this. And in the manifestation community also, the advices that we get, because the bases are of course taken from here and there, and the consistency advice that we get on manifestation routines, mindset routines are also based upon that leads to them believing they cannot have the life they dream of just because they are not being consistent in the manner that the internet teaches them to or expects them to, which is a false expectation.
Yeah, and it's interesting that you say that because I see in spiritual communities, it's mostly women that are teachers and mostly women who are in the audience and clients. And the same is with me. Like my clients are women, my audience usually women. The spaces that I join in containers are women. But it's almost like we have been conditioned to believe certain things about ourselves that we started to override that with through the lens of having a wall up, so the hyper independence route. And it's almost like people take pride right now in the SP community to like, this man is like beneath me, and like I don't need a man, and feeling so shameful if they have a day where they feel lonely about wanting a partner. And it's like, yeah, I get it. We want to do the self-concept work where you're the one and that you're at the top, but that doesn't mean you have to look down on your relationship or pretend you don't want the guy. It's almost like I told a client recently, it's almost like you're offended by wanting to manifest this person. And that is probably why you don't have this person. That's why you're not going all in.
Because you're constantly belittling this person and you're like, they're just underneath me and I don't really care. You're just trying to put up that face, which you don't even believe in. And if this person is so lowly, why are you even here?
Girl, yeah, I know. Oh my God. When I see someone is like, I'm going to change this person, how he looks and how he talks, I'm like, just why do you want this person then? Yeah. So it's like, maybe stop denying what you truly desire. Maybe stop denying that whether you want this person or you don't want this person, and maybe stop shaming yourself for having the desire for an SP, because I also know that I'm going to have to put also this on coaches, where it's almost like looking down on people for wanting love or looking down on people for wanting someone specific. And it's like, with all the love in the world, all the business coaches who have a partner have been manifesting their current husband to show up a certain way. So if we want to talk about free will, let's talk about that, So it's interesting because it's like, I'm going around in tangents. We don't need to go down the route of free will, but I just wanted to say that if people have free will, then you have nothing to worry about. you're not going to take it away. So then,
Also, when you spoke about how they want to change everything about this person, they want to change the way this person looks or the way this person is. I think a big part that we often miss out on is also that sometimes you don't want this person. The manifestation community has fed you so much of you can have anything that you want, that you stop questioning what you really want.
yeah,
Sometimes you are not able to unlock that true desire of yours because you're so attached in a negative, unhealthy manner to an idea. And now, anyone who you see, you want to put them into that idea.
yep,
And because not having a face, I have heard this so many times from potential clients, that not having a face makes it very scary for me. I cannot not have a face because then I don't know what I'm going for,
yeah, hmm,
which is problematic because now you take a person and you try to fit them in a picture,
yeah. And
which is not helping anyone.
even that is not going to allow us to be consistent, because it's like one day you want it, one day you don't. One day you want it, one day you don't. And like, oh, should
And
I
then it
should
comes
I
to
let it go?
triggered.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's interesting. It's so funny because like we didn't plan exactly what we're gonna talk about. We're just like riffing off. But I definitely also see people who are like starting strong and then they lose the momentum, which is kind of normal in general. Like when you start a morning routine or a gym practice, you're like going all in, and then you're actually doing life, so it gets boring to you. So that's like a core reason that I see people lose the momentum. But it's also that I think we have been conditioned to believe that our level of consistency is dependent on our level of motivation, which is to me BS. If I'm
Yep.
going to rely on a feeling, on a circumstance, or on a person, you're pretty much screwed.
Yes, definitely. I remember speaking about it to a person once who's a psychologist, and I just mentioned something about motivation, something that you just said, that motivation is not really equal to consistency. We were speaking about this, and this person was like, motivation cannot really translate into consistency because motivation is a very high energy thing. You get it, and then it slowly slows down and it goes away. If your consistency solely is derived from motivation, then you're never going to be able to consistent, because motivation comes and goes. You see something, you're highly motivated, and then you're just like, now I don't have any more kick.
Yeah. And that is interesting to mention, because I think this is where people confuse a state with a temporary up and down with your feelings. It's like you won't always feel happy, you won't always feel sad, but you always know you won't, like, sometimes you'll feel happy, sometimes you'll be sad, sometimes you'll be bored. But at the end of the day, you only have a house that you're going back to, That's the identity. So I think people confuse that you have to feel a specific way all the time with the identity of like, yeah, I just know that I have it, whether I feel good or bad. And literally, like, I know there are people who are in great relationships and you're happy, but you're not jumping up and down all the time. And you're not wondering either if this person's going to text you back and this and that, if you're in a secure relationship where you're secure within yourself. So, a question that I've seen people ask definitely is like, how can I be consistent if I'm not feeling it? So let's say you have a day where you feel very heavy. How do you stay consistent?
I think the relationship with consistency changed for me when I stopped seeing consistency as doing the same act every day. For example, if I do, let's say, three things with my night routine, it's meditation, EFT, and some journaling. I'll not be doing the same kind of journaling every day. I'll not be doing the same affirmations while doing EFT every day. I'll not be doing the same meditation every day. I can't do that. At times I change my meditations. At times I go for something else. Let's say I have a bad day, I have a slow day where I'm not really feeling the most motivated self. Then I'm just going to go for something simpler. If I can't meditate, I'm just going to go for a different activity that gives me the same result without asking me for so much as meditation. I'll listen to my body's need and do what consistency looks like for me that day, that particular day, what that action means to you. For me, meditation is mostly about having some time for myself and observing my thought. I really don't have to meditate for it. Ideally, yes. But if I can't do that, I can just sit with a cup of warm milk and, observe my thought that way. So, different days, you will have different ways of showing up.
Mhm.
Consistency has more to do with showing up and less to do with the actions you are engaging in. People mostly confuse the two.
Yeah.
The act of showing up is not there. If I push myself to meditate when I'm not feeling it, I'm not being consistent with listening to my body's needs.
Mm-hmm.
And my body is going to ask me to shut that down after a week because
Yeah.
I've been now pushing it,
Mm.
taking more than it can give.
Yeah.
So that's how I deal with it. What about you? How do you go about it?
Yeah, I love that what you said because to me it's also about like meeting myself where I'm at. So again, I think there's a bit of like a lack of understanding in the community with like regulating yourself and not and reacting, right? So if I have a day where I feel like absolute crap, what I will do is like I'll ask myself like if it feels too much right now to maybe affirm or choose a new story, then what I'll do is maybe regulate or take a shower, relax, whatever it is that I need to do, meet my needs, and then close it with, you know what, even if I'm feeling this way, this is what I'm choosing, even if I don't believe it. And that's it. However, what I see tends to happen with people is one of the two things. They react and then they self regulate and they're like, I've done the work. Why isn't it here? Because you chose the old story and then chose to breathe through your diaphragm, you know? And then the other thing that I see people do is like they self regulate and then they go back to, well, I've done the work. Where's my cookie? It's like, hmm, if you're regulating and then focusing on lack, you're still focusing on lack. If you're reacting and then regulating, you're reacting and then regulating. So it's not about that you have to cry, affirm through your tears and pretend that you are in that relationship or that you have that job. It's about what am I needing right now from myself, not from someone else right now. What am I needing from myself? What is in my control? I will do that. Keeping, like, if I'm allowing my body to purge, I will keep the focus on what is happening in my body, not bringing the story in it. So if I'm crying, if I'm hurting, I'm gonna be in my with my heart, allow the sensations to do what they want to do, no judgment, breathing through it. And then when that neutralizes, then I'm gonna go up here. So, and it's easy because you can tell your mind, hey, listen, for 5 minutes, just let me be with my heart for a moment, just for 5 minutes. If you want to chit chatter, I'm gonna speak to you later. Sometimes I have to be the stern. Sometimes it's like I hear you, but this is not serving me. It depends on where you're at emotionally. It depends on how you're feeling and managing your capacity from there. As I've been saying for years and years, manage your capacity. And what I also I like to look into, like, to what extent are you actually regulated generally, because that is linked to like how often you fall apart. And I'm not saying there's a point where you get to where like you have no human emotions, but the overall game plan that you follow, the lifestyle they build for yourself, determines how often you will be reactive, determines how often or how long you will react to. So before getting on this call, there was some drilling. Like literally, we wanted to start at 12:30. 12:32, the drilling started. I'm like, oh my god, this is so annoying. And I texted the family group. I'm like, what the f? And then I was like, okay, best case scenario, that's fine. I
Yeah.
didn't think about it. I was just like setting up the light. I was just like putting on my tiara. I was just like texting you, okay, this is the link and this and that. I forgot about it and it cleared itself up. And it was like literally just before you click join, there was like a bit of drilling. And if it comes back, let's say it won't. But if it does, best case scenario. So I did for a moment react, but then I immediately stopped. Me 3 years ago, 4 years ago, I would have probably been pissed until the end of this live, but because my general practices. And now that I'm aware of that, next time, if the drilling happens, I'm not going to react. I'm going to breathe through it, remind myself, what is the best case scenario? Okay, what is in my control as well? Let's do that. So the lesson from today, because it just happened.
Yep, that's a good point to make. Another thing I think that I would like to this is when you said it's all about meeting where your body is. Like I also spoke about how I try to meet my body a lot of times because the content we consume online, it's either show up every day aggressively or it's be in your feminine, just slow down, and it's presented like all you should be doing is sleeping, resting, which is absolute nonsense, absolute crap. What is balance? Why are we so focused on living in extremes? Why can't we find a middle path? So when we say it's about meeting where your body is, your body needs stimulation as well. Don't forget that. As much as rest is necessary, there are days when I all I want to do is sit and do my manifestation mindset practices all day, every day. There are those days too. So it's very important to realize here that you need to stop living in extremes. Meeting your body also means you will have the high wala days where you should be meeting your body as well. You should not be like, no, 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 I only do 3 practices a day, so I won't do more than that because that is me pushing myself. Or focusing too much on resting, which is something that we see in the name of feminine energy these days. You are doing nothing but self sabotaging. In the long run, you're not going to love the results. That you can mark my words on.
Listen, I get really annoyed with the TikTok community sometimes because extremes are normalized. It's like when they say, choose yourself, they go to the extreme of always man hating, and that's their entire personality, talking about men all day. And then there's the other side of like being so invested in getting a guy and always like texting back, texting. Why are you texting me back? Blah, blah, blah. Can we use the left side of the brain that does exist, because we are intelligent and smart people? We really are, but we forget that, and we let that the fight or flight, so to speak, take over. So let's breathe and decide what is the next step from here. Instead of looking for a new technique, instead of looking for a new way. Because it's not just about looking for something new. Sometimes, honestly, honest to God, most people are not refining the basics, even people who consider themselves to be advanced. At the end of the day, even you and I, what does it go back to? Circumstances don't matter, persisting until it hardens into fact, changing the way you respond to your reality. And with all the love in the world, I don't care if you have $1 million in your bank account right now, I can name a couple of famous people who use their Twitter to bitch all day. Sorry. I can use it.
That's all right. Yep. Okay. Like you said, people do that. And as much as I'm all about, doing this and doing that, and I speak a lot about listening to your body's need, like you said, end of the day, it will boil down to repetition. End of the day, it will boil down to how many times you have done that thing, how many times you have showed up for that thing. And this is what this is going to be about today, that how to show up for that thing consistently in a manner that does not really feels tiring, exhausting, and you burn out every 7 days. This is very common. People burn out every 3 days somehow. And if you're burning out every 3 days, every 7 days, every 12 days, what you really need to be looking at is your daily practices. Daily practices apart from your manifestation practices. And you rightly mentioned, you spoke about how people live in extremes. One day they are man hating, the next day they are all about men. But when you are hating on men, you're still speaking about men. Your world is still revolving around them only. When people do self concept, I see it all the time. I am a self concept coach. Sometimes people get on call and they're like, yeah, I just want to work on myself and I want to attract the best men. I'm like, those two don't go together in a statement. You can, of course, want a man, you can want love. We all want connection and compassion and, companionship. But you can't just be like, oh, I want to build a relationship with myself and then I'll attract amazing men. You will attract, but that can't be your primary source, which oftentimes I see majority of the times is the case. So, yeah, which is very not so good to see. No worries, take your time.
All right. So my question to you is, a lot of people start to be consistent, but they have resistance to that routine. So what is your tip to people, or why do you think, let's talk about why and then the tip of why people resist being consistent, why people resist going all in, and what is like one thing they could start doing to surpass that?
Perfect. So, like we had already spoken, that this is for women, and we are firmly going to focus on how consistency is different for men and women. So, the first thing that I want to focus on is the simple fact that you do not have the same cycle as men. You have a menstrual cycle, you're going to have different days, and you're going to have to pick different activities according to those phases. You have 4 phases. I don't know how body, see, your body will be different, my body will be different. Every other woman reacts to their cycles in a different manner. Their body is different, their needs are different. So the first thing I really need you to do is understand what your body is, where your body is at those particular phases, and what you are doing about it. What is your body demanding out of it? For some people, right before their periods, they need a lot of stimulation. For some people, it's post periods. Up to you. Listen to your body, take notes what's it's demanding from you during those phases, and what are now the activities that you can add to that. So the primary thing that I want you to focus on, because your menstrual cycle does affect your energy levels, you can't just be like, no, no, it does not. It does. There is a reason why everything you do is impacted highly by your energy levels, and it fluctuates here and there all the time. So you need to understand where your energy levels are at, what your body demands from you at different levels, at different phases. Take a note, take a month to, understand. And then you take a list of activities that you can do in each phase to ensure maximum rest and maximum optimization of each and every phase, because each and every phase is there to offer you something. When your body is asking you to slow down, those are your resting days, those are maybe your grounding days. When your body is high on stimulation, those are the days where you can just, do more of embodiment stuff, where you have to show up every day. So ensure your cycle supports what you're trying to do. I think that would help a lot of people so much. And I would also love to hear your thoughts on the same, by the way.
Yeah, I love that. So honestly, I do not track specifically the 4 phases because I know that when I focus on that too much, it almost like I feel the symptoms amplify. But at the same time, I do not deny the needs of my body and whatever it needs in that moment. And at the end of the day, I like what you said. So some phases it's like more embodiment, more this, more that. So it's almost like you're always working towards there anyway. And no matter what you're doing, even if it's just like a self-regulation day, that is still leading you to embodiment. That is still leading you to not being the person who repeats the old story and makes it a lot easier to move through resistance and step into the new. Um, I've definitely also seen people have this thing of like, I could go all in and then it won't work out. I'm the person who like it never pays off with me. I know who has had that dominant story until last year. Hello, someone who is very hardworking and I like to put things together perfectly. I get that, but even that is a form of attachment because we want to feel good enough. It's almost like you feel enough, but then there's another level of like good enoughness that you want to reach, which is like when I achieve XYZ, when it looks this, that, and this and that. It's almost like you're looking for your self-validation through external factors. And there's also this attachment to struggle, that the pleasure in that pain, that when
Yep.
it's painful, it means I have earned it, or when it's painful, the harder it is, the more I'm guaranteed to keep because I worked for it. But if I get it easy, it'll slip through my fingers. So that's the belief work that needs to be done first and foremost. Like that's the foundation of your self-concept because that is linked in itself to your good enoughness. It's linked to your perception of manifesting. It's linked to your perception of God, that God gives everyone else but me, and I'm the one who loses out, and I pray my prayers are never answered if you follow a religion. So you can see how it's all a full circle, and there's also like almost like a safety aspect. And here's a perspective shift. You're never actually safe. Like every day you wake up to the unknown. The safety that you have is you. Anything that you've ever been through, you're the one who got yourself out of it. You got yourself out of that toxic workplace, that trigger warning, abusive relationship. You're the one who got yourself out of all of these past experiences. So the safety that you're looking for is what you have right now. It's you. So you're never fully 100% safe if you're dependent on the 3D. But if you're dependent on self within and reliant on faith, on whatever you believe in, God, universe, you're going to be fine. So this is just like a perspective shift that moving forward when you're resisting a practice, because it's like, it's unsafe that, you know, I might stay where I am, or I'm going to get there and then I'm going to lose it. Get over yourself, first of all. Secondly, we need to normalize relying on faith and not, I'm going to manifest, I always get movement. That is what's manifesting with all the love in the world. Because in that case, you're teaching yourself, I'm always going to rely on external validation. But just this one time, when I get just like the contact, you see how that is the same identity repeating over and over again? You're building habits here. And when you're building a belief, you're building a habit. When you're building a habit, you're building a consistent routine, consistent thought pattern, a consistent emotional state. So it's really about like that audacious behavior, of that audacious action of like, I'm going to go all in. It's a trust fall game. I'm going to do it. And I know that I have me, so I'm safe no matter what. I know I got God, so we're good here. Like, are you bigger than these two? You know? So again, it also goes back to like putting yourself up there in terms of like remembering your true power. I'm not talking about the ego perspective of like, everyone is my little keychain. Puppet, thank you. We're talking about like the true power, which is like you get to go within, choose anything you want in any moment, and rely on faith. And we need to normalize that more often. I'm so sick of content about movement. I think over the 4 years, I've had 2 posts about movement. I am so sick and tired of posts about movement and posts about removing third parties and posts about breaking contact. I think I have 1 post of each of these because I'm getting so sick and tired of like, okay, I'm the problem. Let's change this reflection. It's like going to the mirror and getting a curling iron onto the mirror. You know, you curl your hair and then you stand in front of the mirror and it will reflect that. You don't iron
Yep.
the mirror.
Yes.
So no matter how much wiping third parties you do in your mind's eye, or he texted me back, you're not actually working on the core thing that led to him not texting you back to begin with, or to a third party. So I think we need to normalize like building a consistent habit of putting the focus on ourselves and obviously telling the story of our desires. So I kind of like went a bit here and there, but at the end of the day, what I mean to say is it's all about habits. If you can prioritize building a habitual state, habits that lead you to a specific state, the habits that lead you to even reacting, like you wake up and it's a crappy morning, so now you're going to tie everything that hasn't worked out to you in your life with this manifestation. It's like these are the types of habits we want to break so that we can stay the course and stay consistent.
That does make a lot of sense, and especially the part where you spoke about the movement thing. I don't have a single post on any of these. I am so sick and tired of people constantly speaking about, oh, I need to see movement, oh, I need to see this, and I need to see that. No, you don't. You don't need to see anything at all. All you need to know is the thing that you want is going to happen whether you see it or not, and stop being so obsessed with it. For once, if people could just focus on, taking that leap of faith without having to constantly see some movement, I think they would do themselves a great favor simply by doing that.
Yep.
Simply by doing that little thing. Because every time every time they do engage in that behavior, every time you are going out there and watching a video, why he has not reached out to you yet, why you have been doing XYZ technique and you have not seen movement yet, you are telling your brain again and again, see, it's not here yet. That's why I'm watching this thing.
Yeah.
That's why I'm resonating so well with this thing, because it's not here.
Yeah.
That over consumption of that content,
Yeah.
you can use that time to create instead of consuming that nonsense, whatever your garbage you are putting in your head.
Literally, I want to say I'm gonna give this credit to Manifest with Subconscious Laws. It was my first time jumping on her live yesterday. I was like checking out my TikTok, and then she popped up. I was like, oh, let me check her out. She said something. I laughed my off. She was like, you're all sitting all day like this. Let's see the next video. And then the Sammy Ingram, and then the Roxy Talk, and then the this, and then the that, and then the that. It's like, I'm actually thought about it. I'm like, people are constantly overstimulated. You're effing up your dopamine levels. You're constantly on search mode. Like you're hunting. Even animals don't do that level of
Yeah.
hunting. Like, oh
Once
my
they learn
God.
how to hunt, they are not like, oh, I need to find another
Thank
technique
you.
to hunt now.
Yeah, thank you. It's like if you're always like looking for the next piece of content, oh my God, I get it. The content out there is great, but your application needs to be a lot more than what you're putting in here and putting in here. It's like throughout the day, who are you being outside of these videos? But also that in itself is a codependency habit. Like you're dependent on a few cute words from this video and a few nice words from this post. We get it.
It's
I love while I'm making breakfast to just like plug into a podcast to get into the mindset. But even on the days where I don't, I'm still gonna decide who I'm gonna be, you know? So yeah, it's these things where it's like you're literally teaching and training yourself to keep searching. Oh my God. Oh my God. Like I'm trying to
it's
be nice.
also a reminder you don't know enough yet. You need to know more in order to manifest. Those clickbaity videos you will manifest in 2 minutes after doing this thing. Or you will manifest whatever you want with just these three affirmations overnight. Come back to me and see how powerful it is. Do it overnight. Whenever you click on these, you're like, completing tasks. Oh, I've done 369. Now I have to do 1099. I don't know what else is up there. And once
Mm-hmm.
you're done doing all of that, what you're really doing is you're just leading yourself to burning out.
Yeah.
Because now your brain is like, I have done 10 things and single thing has not worked out for me, even though it claimed it will work in 4 minutes. I've seen videos of people claiming that this thing will come true in 4 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. This thing is going to come true in 4 minutes, and the people who are going to click on it, they are not desperate at all.
Mm-hmm.
They're the most stable people, right?
Right. And here's the thing, the people who got it are the people who have been doing the mindset work and who are just like seeing it as like a boost, you know, and it's like, cool, let's try this. Instead of like, oh my God, maybe this will work. Maybe this will save me. Breathe. I actually would suggest like, as I always say this to my clients, there's so much you can do but tell the old story. There are so many tools and resources, and only one of them is complaining about the old story and reacting the old way. So my advice, honest to God, go through the resources. Look at the ways that you react the most. Let's say you react with frustration. Have a channel where you channel that frustration in a healthy way. Let's say you take 5 minutes to grab your phone and just vent to yourself, delete it, do some deep breaths, meditation, maybe, tell the new story. Or maybe you could even like literally like grab a notebook, scribble, just like let it out, and then breathe. I don't know if you want to see a white light or whatever purple thing shoot up your body. Breathe. Choose a new story. Sorry, my tiara fell from how much I laughed.
The light should be emerging from the ground and going up your spine also.
What I mean is, if your thing that kicks you off the consistent pattern is frustration, have something in place that helps you move through that, because it's not about suppression, it's about expression in a healthy way that leads you to the new story. Maybe with your thoughts, if mental diet works for you, perfect. If reminders throughout the day work for you, perfect. You have so many tools, a plethora of tools. Choose the tools that you enjoy, that you like, so it doesn't feel as much pressure. But even if it feels pressure, I love you so much, but we're adults. Sometimes you'll feel a bit uncomfortable. That's the worst part of the process. Can you imagine? Like you change babies' diapers and go to work and pay taxes, but you don't want to tell a new story because it's a bit uncomfortable. Like, I don't mean to shame people, but be for real, you know? So sometimes it will be uncomfortable until it gets comfortable. Sometimes it's about like analyzing, like, okay, maybe I'm using a practice that has worked for someone else, and I think that because it worked for them, that it has to work for me, and I'm doing something wrong, so I'm going to force myself to do it. It's like, no. If you like EFT, go for EFT. If you're a meditation person, meditation is here. If you want to blend meditating on your affirmations and doing like, the hot girl walk, which is like going for like 30 to 60-minute walk and only listening to, things that make you feel grateful or things that are affirmation rampages or things like that. So there's so much you could do but tell the old story. If overthinking is an issue for you, guess what? Choose a resource that helps you with overthinking. If it's like, okay, 3-minute timer, after those 3 minutes, I'm done overthinking, do that. If it's just closing your eyes, observing, and then letting the thoughts flow, do that. So much you can do. So much.
That's true. You can do so much. And one of his starting point was go to a channel where you're going to deal with your frustration and overthinking. I would like to add to that people jump from one place to another, one coach to another, because this coach did not really work out. Their content did not work out for them. What you're also doing is you're just subscribing to different theories.
Mm-hmm.
You're listening to one theory, which was like, let's say, oh, do robotic affirmations. Fine, you have listened to that. Now you're listening to, no, you have to feel it to get it. Then you're listening to, no, you have to have self-love and something to have it. Then you're listening to, no, self-love is not enough. The self-concept is the whole package. I'm not trying to tell you what is the best for you. You know the best. What I am trying to tell you is subscribe to a goddamn ideology and stick to it. Find what you really, feel like aligned with.
Yeah.
If you're confident and you're, the it girl, and you think you can have it all, just go for robotic affirmations and get done with it.
Thank you. Exactly. It's like, here's the thing. I have no issue with like you investing in multiple mentors, because sometimes it's like there's a mentor that's so good at like keeping you on track, and then there's another mentor that's like specialized maybe in trauma informed if that's what you want to work on, and then there's another mentor who's like focused on feminine energy if that's what you want to do. So it's fine to invest in those places. And at the same time, what I want to say, I've seen for a lot of my clients, yeah, a lot of them have success within the container. A lot of them also have success after the container. It's like we've been downloading, and now it's settling in. And I think this expectation that you have to have your result by the end of like the 3 weeks is kind of, with all the love in the world, like the work that you do in there is so you can continue to do that outside the container and have that lifelong. Because it's kind of like me going to a personal trainer and being like, listen, by the end of the 3 weeks, I better have that round booty, the toned arms, that exact number on my waist, that exact measurement on my stomach. And if that doesn't happen, you're a scammer.
Yeah, that is there. I am all for, you going for different mentors. What I am saying is then all those together should make sense to you.
Yeah.
A lot of times you're not happy with robotic affirmations. Then you go find someone who does feeling is the, I don't know, what is it? Feeling is what gets you. I don't know the phrase.
The secret, yeah.
Yeah, feeling is the secret. So you go to someone who is like, feeling is the secret. Then you're like, this is also not working for me. Then you go to someone else who's telling you self-love. Then you're like, this is also not working. Then you go to someone who's teaching you self-concept. Then you're like, this is also not working for me. Now you have put yourself in 4 places and you are not subscribing to a single one properly.
Mm-hmm.
And I can assure you, if you follow any of these properly, truly, and really align with it, you will get it. It's not really about what is better, what is not. It all boils down to the same thing. It's one law only. It's just different ways of teaching and different ways of bringing it to you.
This is so funny because just before you said that sentence, I was just thinking to myself, I want to say that all of these techniques work. So great reflection on the spot, like while we're doing it here. Yeah, all of these methods work. It's about finding what works best for you and what is healthy for you. Because it's like, I like to use the analogies always of like diet and exercise because it's the best way to explain it. It's like there are so many ways people lose weight. Some of them are healthy, some of them aren't. Some of them come with health concerns. Some of them come with flexibility. Some of them come with lifelong ease. Some of them start with being super restricted and then more flexible. So it's like finding what is healthy for you, what is right for you, what you enjoy. And people who say, I tried everything and it doesn't work. I, I so love you. And I so see you crying in every comment section. The heart. The heart popping. Can you see the heart from my end? I so love you, but you
I'm
can't
sorry.
tell me that, let's take up robotic affirming, for example, that you have been doing robotic affirming, let's say for 5 months, not once you allowed yourself to you didn't allow yourself to waver even once, never reacted, never went back to the old story. Do you mean to tell me you've never, not even once, done that in 5 months? So people say, I've tried everything and it doesn't work. You're special, but not to the point where like this is gonna work for everyone but you, or you're the only one who gets to feel this. And then what happens eventually, because you think, oh, now manifesting doesn't work, you're gonna see more stories of like either you're gonna see success stories that make you feel like you're the only one who can't get it, you're the odd one out, or more stories of like people being stuck and finding yourself in group coaching programs where most people don't get results. And it's interesting because I've had group coaching programs where people had a lot of results. I've had programs and recent ones where people would message me privately their success, and I'm like, oh my god, that's so interesting. Like, to me, I know clients always get success, so I see it. But the people in there are like, no, it doesn't work. It doesn't work. They're never gonna see this success story. It's
Something similar happened to me today, and I was like, you better be dropping this message in the group. I was
mhm.
like, there's no way you're messaging this to me personally and not there. I don't care. Hide the details, put it there.
Yeah. Hmm.
But you're right. Sometimes you went and went and went, and then you find yourself in places that are full of venting. And then you're like, oh, how did I attract this now?
Hmm.
Look a little, over what you did, and
Yeah.
you'll find exactly what led you to this.
So the big question is, how do I trust that it will pay off? That what I'm doing will pay off? That if I stay consistent, it will happen? That's the big question I always get.
The worst, I think I hear this a lot too. And usually, especially since you and I both go by self concept coaches and not really manifestation coaches, I think people are also very hesitant to reach out to self concept coaches because it has this image that
Mm,
it takes time. I'm not denying that. Definitely, because we are doing identity shifting work. Whatever age you are at right now, up till this age, you have lived with a story, you have lived with an identity. And now, if we are trying to shift it, it is going to take you time to break certain things, certain patterns. But at the same time, I really want to point out here that if you're not very attached to your identity and you really want to shed it can happen within weeks for you. I have had clients who changed their lives 180 degrees in just 2 months. And I'm speaking new job, new business, new partner after a divorce, by the way. After divorce and a failed relationship. And plus, she had a kid, so it's not really seen as the ideal situation, to get in a new relationship. These were her ideas. And shifting to a completely different country because she was willing to leave that identity. It took her
yeah.
only 2 months.
Hmm.
But if you have this idea in your head that identity leaving is too much for me right now, or you're too scared to shed your identity because you cannot put your faith in something unknown, you don't know who you're going to be after this,
Here.
then
Yeah.
even if, let's say, you do robotic affirming and you get two desires of yours, you're not going to see that shift. The shift you want to feel because your identity is still the same. I can manifest a happy, secure guy and be with him and still be messed up,
Hmm.
still be unhappy, still be in doubts about his loyalty towards me, his love towards me, and his this and his that. Because my identity is the same.
Yeah.
So the first thing that you need to really enter with is your mind open to all possibilities.
Hmm.
I think this is one thing that I say to everyone. If you are really trying to make the shift and you really want your life to shift, you gotta be okay with shifting in the first place. You're saying, no, 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 I'm too scared to shift. And then you're like, oh my God, my life didn't even shift.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm too scared to have a pet. Oh my God, my house does not even have a pet.
Hmm. Yeah. And I like what you're saying, because also I do see that there are some self-concept coaches that are like, you're not allowed to talk about your desire. I'm like, that's dumb. Um, you should be able to talk about your desire. You should be able to also focus on changing your beliefs about it. But it's like, it goes back to like who you're being in relation to that, right? So that's why we focus on the self-concept. Or even like people will say, like, just focus on your awareness or your I am to see how it's all, again, you, not
Yes.
anything else. You,
You.
you, you can wiggle your way around it. It's still
Yes.
you. It's
I
still
think people also hate the responsibility and accountability that comes with it. Because now, if you have failed, it's all you. And that's a heavy responsibility to carry.
I think, yeah, we're taught to play the blame game. Either we blame them, we blame ourselves, or we blame God, or we blame life. And it's like, how
Yes.
about we remove blame completely? Because accountability and blame are not the same things. I can like earlier what I did. I said I reacted before this call, then I stopped myself. Next time I'm gonna do this instead, which it did happen again, by the way, while you were talking and my mic was off. It did happen again. I didn't go, or,
Yes.
you know, so that is accountability. Shaming yourself is like, oh, I never do this right. Screw me. It's my fault. Every time people say it's my fault, I'm like, I want to shake you and tell you to please stop talking to yourself that way. You would never tell a friend that. You would never sit there and be like, shame on you for crying again about this person. You suck at this. You don't know how to do this. No matter what you do, it won't work for you. It's like it's very aggressive, and
Yes.
it still plays a part in the relationship you're building with yourself along this journey. And
Yes. It's very
it
important.
can be sneaky. It can be like, I drop this mug and be like, damn, I'm stupid.
Yep. It
Imagine
can
me
be.
telling a friend that she drops the cup or something. I'm like, damn, you're dumb. She's gonna be like, bye. Smile you later. How rude. So
Yes. I think that is very important that we learn that. And of course, our community does feed a lot to that. And since we are specifically, speaking of women here, women already have a lot of societal conditions, pressures that put them in a spot, or you're raised in a manner, especially if I have to speak of the Indian women, or brown women in general. We are raised in a manner where we are we are raised in a manner to accommodate men. I'm not going to say people, because we are not as accommodating of fellow women as we are of men, and we are raised in a manner to please them, to constantly put ourselves in boxes, to shame ourselves for even the littlest thing. It's not our fault. It's not really our fault, but we'll take the shame because we have to accommodate their big feelings.
yeah,
And since you grow up with that, now you are, you enter this community, which then goes on to tell you, oh, your husband hit you. Well, it's your brain. You manifested that.
yeah. Victim blaming is, yeah, no,
Victim
not for,
blaming. And they will do the same,
yeah.
because there's another community that is feeding off that
Mhm.
shame and making profit.
It's also interesting because like, also, if you're not ethnic, you're not allowed to leave a comment on this or make a video on this. We're ethnic, we're allowed. I'm Arab, so shush.
I'm Indian, I'm allowed. That's why I was like, brown women.
Mhm.
I don't know about the rest.
Yeah, no, don't talk about it. Sorry.
Yeah.
Okay. So as I was saying, we're also taught to like have jealousy and competition with women, and, and that teaches us to almost like grow up with this idea that we have to hate on women. You can't really can't trust anybody, can't have friends. That also manifests in your friendships and in your relationships. So the relationship that or the friendships that we have with women matter too.
Also, speaking of brown women, we of course have a history of men having multiple wives. I know that's long, long, long back ago, but In India, I do see quite a lot of men, like people from our grandparents' age, they have had multiple wives. And if you have seen a system like that, and especially when finances are so controlled, and you have to fight to be the best wife out there, you naturally see women as competitors, and you carry that forward. Every woman becomes a threat. That's how you have been raised also, seeing women as threat, fellow women as threat. Oh, she's doing better than you. Oh, she is better looking than you. Oh, she is more traditional than you. Traditional is a very um I don't know. I don't know what word
Yeah.
it's called, but
Hmm.
keep women in the box.
Yeah, you know how that manifest says? You try to manifest your dream body and you're always comparing yourself to other women. You're trying to be
Yes.
more spiritual and it's like, oh, I'm not as spiritual or religious as her. And then
Yes.
you link it to your worthiness. So this work is beyond just like getting a hug every day from your person.
Yeah.
It's literally breaking generational trauma. It's literally changing the way the systems, the way people treat each other. Like when you build healthy relationships and manifest that, you're creating children who don't have the trauma that we had. You're creating bringing to life children and businesses that actually have an impact, and money being in the right hands of people, not in, well, I'm not going to say any names.
Thank you.
I think you know who I thought about.
Yes.
Anyway,
Yes.
so if anything, it makes the world a better place. It teaches people to not continuously project their anger, their sadness onto others. And if they do feel angry, how now you can teach your kids what to do about your feelings when it's very
Yeah.
loud. How to stand up for yourself and also do it from a place of like, instead of like feeling disempowered and attacked, it's how to do it from an empowered place, but also regulate yourself and also stay safe. So it's like you're changing the world for yourself and for
Yes.
people. Your desire is not just about you. The business you
Yes.
want to manifest, that's going to create not just income for you. You're going to be able to invest that in charities and movements. You're going to be inspiring people to create businesses like yours. You're going to be inspiring people to create movements like yours. You're going to have a level of income that's also, or maybe even if it's a small level of income, if you don't want anything big, it's still creating impact. It's still money being in the right hand of somebody who can do something about anything in the world. It's still teaching us also to go within and find peace when we look around us and don't see peace in the world, but also doing our part if we can. So it's really like consistency is going to build a consistent lifestyle for yourself and everybody around you. So let's stop with like the, pardon me again, wuss behavior of like, but what if it doesn't work? You know what? You're gonna be fine. There's still gonna be oxygen. You're still gonna be able to breathe. And then from
Yeah.
there, you're gonna choose to either get it, still manifest, it, or be like willingly say bye. And people who willingly say bye to something, they never feel, oh my God, it's just like, okay, I actually don't desire it as much anymore. And we've all been through that, whether it was a friendship,
Yes.
whether it was a partner, whether it was a house or a country or a qualification that you were pursuing. So it's not that big of a deal that we make it. And not like the world is not like out to get you. The world is not like sitting there like, okay,
Yes.
I'm waiting for Rozana manifests specifically to say I have it so I can give her everything she doesn't want. Like
Yes, 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 yes. So true. And the last part where you spoke about, you're going to be fine even if you don't have that thing. I really want to, direct this message to those who are getting their SPs, especially women who are trying to manifest their SPs. You're going to be fine. That man is not the last thing in the world you need. A man is the last thing in the world you need to be happy. You can want a man all you want, but it does not have to be a need. Of course, you need companionship. Agreed, given, but it's not like you'll be deprived of companionship if you don't get that particular man. And hell, not just that man, if you don't get any man, then also your life is not going to be incomplete.
yeah.
When I remember when I entered the manifestation community, I, of course, just like every other idiot out there, entered with SP in mind. I was like, oh my god, if this person I don't get, what the hell am I going to do with my life? My little life, which is only about this particular stupid guy, you know? And then I realized, oh, I can have a bigger world than this. And the bigger your world is, the smaller your desires feel, the lesser you will
Mhm.
put them on pedestal. You don't
Yeah.
have a big enough life. That's why you're so focused on this man.
Yep. And I'm guessing people are now thinking, well, does that mean I can't get him? For
No,
the
you
life of
can't.
me. Listen, we're saying you choose to either continue manifesting this and you get it if you do it the right way, or you choose to be like,
Decide to not have it.
bye.
But do you see the problem, how deep rooted it is, that people are not even able to comprehend the idea or listen the idea or understand the idea that they can say or choose to say no
Yeah.
to a man, the
Yeah.
desire of a man.
And here's the thing, I'm not one to say, like, oh, you just want the feeling, not the desire. Actually, I love the cash in my hands. I love the good food. I want these things too. It's not
Yes.
just the feeling that I want. The feeling, yeah, comes with it and it's amazing. And yeah, if I have the cash in my hands, I also feel safer, blah, blah, blah. But I also love these experiences. So what? So I'm not like saying settle for the feeling and just be okay with not having it and be the humble bumble. We're not even saying that. We're saying actually accept that you do have the desire, go all in, but from a grounded space. But what if you're already going in with all these questions of what if I don't get it? What if I stop desiring it? You're not even giving yourself space to do the work or to integrate the work that you've been doing.
Yes.
Breathe, breathe, you know? So it's interesting because, like, as you said, it's either people go down the route of like, I'm not gonna be okay without this person, or they try so hard to be like, I don't need a guy, and they know they really want this desire. It's fine to
Yes.
admit you want a dude. It's fine to admit you want a partner. It's fine to admit you want to be a mom someday. It's
Yes.
not shameful at all.
We all have those desires, and especially the more I'm not trying to say that every woman has to be feminine, or if you are in your feminine energy you have to have the desire, but it's very I don't know how to put it into words. It's very normal to want companionship, and you see a life partner as the only companionship you can have, because you will feel like your friends won't be there forever. You can't share a home with your friends if, let's say, your friends are married or something like that. It's okay for you to want a man. It's normal, it's acceptable. Own it. I'm
Yeah,
saying own the desperation as well. If you're desperate for a man, well, you are now. What can
yeah.
you do about
And I think also a consistent habit people need to start bringing into place is it's almost like people hardened or like they try to open their heart, but I'm not gonna be too kind. It's like I feel like the world I'm born in the 90s only, so I'm not like old, okay? But it's like I've seen ever since people be less nice and nice and nice, or showing that kind, gentle
it?
side. And I think we need to consistently bring back the habit of like it's okay for me to be gentle, kind to myself, to the world. Because what some people do is like hide in their bedroom, soothing the inner child, and then going out with like a strong face.
Yes.
Consistently build the habit of being that person who is like, my heart is out here, come and get me.
Yes, and a lot of times I also hear people say that, oh, if I'm too kind, because I do speak about consideration and kindness a lot in my one-on-one sessions also, and a common fear that I get to hear is, I might get hurt. Well, you're just going to get hurt. Choose to be kind anyways, you know. I'm not saying you're not going to be hurt. No one can protect you from hurt from for the rest of your life. You are going to be hurt this way or that way or that way or that way. The point is, you should make a choice to be kind. You should allow that love in. You can't be like, no, I'm not going to be kind and I'm going to be guarded and I'm going to be selective and I'm going to be this and that and expect love to come in your life. You got to
Yeah.
give love and you will get it back.
Hmm.
But of course, don't do it in the hopes to get it back. Then you are
Yeah.
just, yeah. So,
Yeah. Honestly, like it's such an interesting conversation because I don't know, like people want love so much, but at the same time, it's like, no, I'm gonna pretend I don't want it, and I'm gonna be hard enough. It's like It's not cute anymore. I've been down this route as well. Okay, I get it. Like pretending like I'm like, oh, you
I'm
are
better
that
than you.
girl without pretending you don't want somebody in your life.
Yes.
So I think also as coaches, we need to normalize being more loving towards each other as a whole,
Yes.
and to normalize when you want a partner, it's okay to fully love them.
Yep.
Because what people do when they're manifesting a person and they've practiced this consistently, which is manifesting from a place of pain, which is manifesting from a place of like you're angry at them and no, I will not forgive them. Now what do I do? I'm not forcing you to manifest this person. That's on you, babe. If you want to manifest this person, then release that story, forgive, let it go. So what was I even saying? My mind is like going everywhere. So it's more like building as well the consistency towards like who you have to be is not just about the affirmations. It's about these little things of like how often you shut yourself down when you desire this thing, how often you shame yourself for the smallest things, how much you allow yourself to be seen, your heart to be seen, all of that stuff. It all matters. And when you're like audaciously that, you walk as the embodiment of that. You're all asking about embodiment. Yeah, sometimes it's just like in the being in the energy and the mindset. But you already shift your energy and the mindset when you go out and you're like, I'm just show everybody that I'm strong and independent. Girl, I know you have money in your bank account. I know you're independent. I know you have a job. Chill. Stop proving yourself. You've done enough. Stop.
You're calling my older self out.
And mine.
Yes, I have done that. I have done that. I was that like, I don't care. I am not going to act like I need love because, self love, and I'm so I can just take care of myself, and I don't need anyone to take care of myself. Stop it. Trust me, it's coming from someone who has done it, and I think sometimes I'm not going to deny that I don't ever go back there. Sometimes when someone does things for me, I'm just like a little uncomfortable, and I'm like, no, it's perfectly fine. We are allowed to love and we are allowed to receive love. Just because there is a story in your head which tells you that this has never happened for you before does not mean you still need to subscribe to that story. Your past, your present, and your future can coexist. You have a story where love was conditional, where love was very restrained, that led you to be this person, that who has to provide for herself and blah blah blah. This can coexist with a future where everyone takes care of you. It's
Mm-hmm.
normal for you to have it, and you are not going to get this by rejecting the past, the present, or the future. A lot of times people think their past has to be aligned with their future has to be aligned with their past. No, that's the whole bloody point. Your past and your future cannot be aligned if you're seeking new results.
Yeah.
Another thing with the SP manifestation girlies is you're so hyper fixated on getting love from this man, or any man for that matter, that you forget or you reject the already existing love in your life. There are your girlfriends who are trying to reach out to you, but no, 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 you got to do affirmations because you need this man. Someone
Yeah.
is trying to hang out with you, but you are in self isolation because you need to hug yourself a little tighter today. Let the other person hug you. There's love coming in. This is what you have been screaming for.
Yeah. And I know like these are two different forms of love, but it's at the same time you're still getting yourself in that state. You're still
Yes,
allowing yourself to be loved.
that's
It's
still
like
the same energy.
it's existent. Some of them act like it's like I'm empty, I have nothing, or yeah, I have this, but not this thing. And when you do that, you're immediately choosing not to be present with what you have right now. Like I gave my client before a practice, I told her like first thing in the morning, just like take 5 minutes, eyes closed, and just meditate on all the ways you've been getting love recently. Whether it's
Yes,
people checking up on you, gifts that you got on your birthday, time with your pet, just being in that energy of love.
yes.
And
I
then
say
from there, when you tell the story from there, it's not the same as like, damn it, I'm pissed. This
yes.
person wants me. It's like, whoa, whoa, whoa.
That's so true. I always tell people, if you're trying to create something, look at what you already have where you're getting the same thing from. So if you're manifesting love, what are the places, what are the people you're already getting love from? If you're looking for money and comfort, what are the places that you're already
Yeah.
comfortable in? You can't just reject whatever you have in the plate because you're looking for something or you're eyeing someone else's plate. I'm not saying just be okay with whatever you have. You want more, it's absolutely okay for you to want more, and we all deserve more.
Yeah.
But in the rush to get more, don't forget what you already have. And a little bit of gratitude goes a long way, because I see this so often that people try to get something and then their brain is like, oh, I've never tasted that thing before. For example, if you're trying to manifest love, your brain is like, I have never seen that before. That's why people often say, oh, it feels fake. It does not feel natural to me. Because you're so fixated on the desire, you're not fixated on where you're already getting it from. If
And
you
so what if it feels fake until it doesn't?
Yeah, does not really matter. But I also firmly believe whatever people try to manifest, they have tasted it here or there. It's not like you have never tasted it.
Yep.
Some way or the other, it's already present in your life. You have tasted it. That's why you're craving more of it.
Yeah, and even if you never had it before, guess
That's
what?
perfect.
There's a first time for everything. Like, the first
Yes.
friendship you had in your life, the first relationship, the first job,
Yes.
you're
Works.
you're good. You're fine. So it's also like, I feel like all of these questions have to do with like the consistent habit that people have of like problem being problem oriented rather than solution oriented. It's like they see a problem, so they stop. Instead of like, okay, so I noticed I get tripped in that area. Let's look into how I can move past that. Instead of like, what do I do? What do I do? What do I do? So
Yes.
shh, brace yourself. It's fine. And at the end of the day, it's consistency that we're talking about, not perfectionism.
Yep.
It's just like
That's
you can be consistent with your workouts, but if you miss 2 days, it's okay. As long as like you obviously didn't do the opposite of that, which is like, I don't know, whatever habits that you return to, right? So, and please, I don't want to see a single person tell me, but does that mean that I can't manifest my dream body without going to the gym? Not what I'm saying. Shh.
Stop speaking about these topics only because I'm just so done. And if I speak about it, I'm just going to get frustrated. I'm like, we have been screaming for ages now. There are multiple people screaming the same thing to you every day.
Yeah,
And let's say I don't believe in it, you don't need my approval. This is your reality.
exactly. At the end of the day, what is manifestation? Focus on it till you get it. That's it.
Exactly. I
And the
can
other
just
stuff,
if I don't believe it.
and all the other stuff is just to help you focus on it. It's just to focus on being it. That's it.
Yes, that's very important. But people are so invested in what they want to do. So invested in doing consistently doing the negative stuff,
Mm-hmm.
consistently doing the unhelpful stuff, that when you redirect them to something that is more helpful, you're like, no, I can't do it.
Yeah.
You are being consistent with habits that are not helping you. It's not like it's an inconsistency problem. You're consistent with a lot of things.
Yeah.
You show up at work.
I was also talking today, and I'm doing a 7-day challenge of like the woman who has it all, and I was telling them, I want you to look into, I believe in my power until what happens, because this is where like you're tripping yourself up. This is where you're not being consistent with your story. It's like, I believe in my power until I don't get a text back. I believe in my power until I don't get this on my birthday. I believe in my power until no movement. And again, you have to start relying on faith, not movement. Because the
Yes.
people who are so attached are the people who F up the movement when it's here. It's like the moment they see a glimpse of the movement. So now, do I text them like 18 times? So now that this is a silence, it's finishing up. If it looks like a partial manifestation, it's not. It's finishing up. It's still moving. Whether or not
Yes.
you see it is not the point. Manifestation was never, oh, believe, see it and then believe it. And if you have an issue with that, then what are you doing here? Just drop manifestation. Because, like, honestly, these are the rules. And honestly, I think it's fair. You be it and you get it. And even better than you expected.
That's true. That's very important. And the point you made where you spoke about, in your group challenge, you spoke about, uh, I believe in my power till. I think you believe in your power till the 3D rejects you. That's what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
You're like, I believe in my power for 5 minutes in the morning when I'm trigger free. A lot of times I get this question, how do I become trigger free? What do you mean?
Yeah.
You really think there's going to be a world where there are no going to be no triggers for you? If you are a triggered person, you are going to get triggered by a fucking cat. No one can help you. I'm so sorry to break this news to you. If you don't want to identify yourself as a triggered person, stop identifying yourself with that. Simple. If you want to be someone who doesn't have problems, say that.
Mm-hmm.
As simple as that.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah. And then you have to build the habit as well of like not consistently, whatever gets you to feel like, oh, I'm the person who gets triggered easily.
Yes.
Or these conversations. Like, I get that, people want to do trauma work, and that's fine. I'm not against it at all. Not at all. But I'm against almost like, there are people who almost romanticize trauma, and they take like pictures of themselves when they're crying and put a Billie Eilish song. Like, we love her songs, but listen, like, it's not cute to always be in trauma mode. It's not cute to always be healing yourself. You can do the release work in that moment and then move forward. Like keeping yourself in release work, release work, release work. Oh my God, it's like constantly giving yourself medication, medication, medication. You take the medication and then you leave the goddamn room and go about your day. So that's also part of like, it's going to have to be that that habit that people need to break. And when it comes to manifesting as well, especially a person that you have like a history with, I know it sounds like it's too simple, but you have to forget the past completely, as in like not removing it from your memories, but like when you're moving on from something like a job that you left and you're hurt by how you left it. Every time you think about it, you're like, yeah, that hurt, but I really need to move on. That's what you need to do with all the old stories. To forget completely the focus that you have there. Forget it completely and keep choosing the new story. You have to forget the past. You have to forget what has happened because the past is not creating the future. All of your todays create all of your tomorrows.
Yeah. And you don't need to be constantly rewriting your past in order to create a better future. That's something I hear a lot. Rewrite you. Why? That thing happened to you. Why do you want to deny yourself an experience?
Yeah. I would say past revision is just like you giving yourself a different perspective that, oh, it could have gone this way. It's just a perspective shift that shifts your state. And so that's why people get what they want with past revision. But at the end of the day, if you revise something, then you have to say, like, this is just how it is and never go back from that. So it's always going to be that. It's always going to be never going back from
Yes.
the decision that you make.
You can revise all you want. But if you have revised and you still continue to make decisions from that same state, I'm sorry, you're just making a fool out of yourself. You're fooling no one but yourselves. You can go all about, oh, I revised my past. Good for you. But did you really do anything about it? And I see people doing this with huge stuff, like, traumatic stuff. I'm just going to revise it. I'm so sorry that thing happened to you. And I'm so sorry that there's a community that made you feel like you need to revisit it and revise it. And, deny yourself the fact that it happened to you, because that's a big thing. It could be, I have had people who come to me and speak to me about such traumatic stuff, and then they're like, can I please just revisit it? And I'm speaking sexual abuse and physical abuse
Yeah.
and all sorts of abuse at a very tender age of just 4.
Yeah.
It's
Hurts too.
heartbreaking to speak women like that, see women speaking like that. Oh, I should just revise it. What do you mean you should just revise it?
Yeah, it's so interesting to me because like here's the thing. When we talk about healing, at least when I do, any work that you do, let's say you're gonna go about past revision of, I don't know, someone said something mean to you and you want to pretend like it never happened. The point of any healing work is to detach your identity from that experience. That's all. That's all the point of past revision, EFT, somatic work. And you can do all of that without denying anything. In fact, sometimes when we deny what happened, what we tend to do is like actually focus on it more. And we actually like keep it more alive within us. And then we find ourselves like being constantly agitated, easily triggered. So, what if you just look back, understand that this was there over there, that all this time maybe your body was processing the past, thinking that it's still there. So you can look at, see that, okay, this happened there, making peace with it every single day if you need to, building that habit. And it's okay to move forward and say goodbye.
Yes.
So you don't have to deny, but at the same time, it's like, okay, to each their own, choose the modality that you want. But if you're choosing the modality, again, like I said, you can choose like a diet that is healthy or a diet that is unhealthy. You can choose a diet that gives you the exact results as I don't know who online, but it can also give you a disorder, right? It can also give you physical symptoms that are very unhealthy. So
Yes.
it's about, again, choose the thing that you can do long term, what you enjoy, what you like, and stick to it.
And stop creating unnecessary, unmatchable expectations. Like, oh, my past will not ever visit me. It will. And there are days that it will probably choke you, it will just feel like you're back at the day, when it happened to you. That does not mean it will live with you like that again, or you
Mhm.
have to live with it like that again. That just means it's visiting. Let it visit and go.
Thank you. Exactly. Like sometimes it's just a matter of like, okay, you can be here. That's fine. And hey, I want to show you. Like I've told some of my clients this, like, show this version of you if you need to in that moment that you've been safe ever since. That you've not been in that situation, so that you register within you that that was then, this is now. Thank you for keeping me safe. But it's that protective mechanism is not serving my future. So thank you.
Yes.
Love you. So it's like you don't even need to go about it that like F you by, I know I said sometimes I need to be stern with myself, but when I say stern, I mean when I'm feeling like I'm not being consistent. When I'm like choosing, it's easier to stay where I am, but also I hate that I feel like it's hard. No, I'd rather choose the hard that gets me what I want. So
Yeah.
just these are like some things that people need to break consistently and build the new habits. And I wanted to say one more thing about consistency, but I forgot. It was something about also a habit to build. It'll come back when it does. But the point here is like all of that stuff, it's about at the end of the day building habits that work for you long term. It's not just about the story, it's about the things that lead you to even getting near the old story, is the things that even get you to get triggered the same way. That urge, whatever gives you that urge, is where you're like, okay, so here's where I need to apply the habit breaker. So this is where I need to step in as blah, 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 blah. This is where I need to apply this method for the life of me. Choose the modalities that you want. Get clear today. And let's stop with like jumping from one place to the other. Because we even see this in like the health community, right? Like the fitness community specifically, where it's like always trying like, okay, so it's like the routine for Pilates arm or the routine for like doing like the Stairmaster only for like 45 minutes, or is it like doing cardio and then strength, or strength and then cardio? Like, and then you like try this and you try that and you try this and you try that. And I guess sometimes we need to like dip our feet in the water, sometimes like here and there, and see what works best for us. But at this point, you're way past this. You've been doing this for years. You've known about all of these practices for years. Do
Yes.
something, stick with it. It'll make your life so much easier. And even that is like breaking the habit of like the need to control things. Because like when we're trying to do this and that and that and that and that, we're trying to control something. We're trying to make something happen. But it's not going to work that way. It's only going to work when you choose to be that person. And if it never worked for you before, you're going to have to prove it to yourself this time. That's
Yes.
honestly it.
Yep. And I think the last thing I want to add to the consistency bit is, um, just because you have an urge does not mean you have to act upon it. Your urge does not have to translate into an action. I always tell this to my clients, it's okay for you to have urges. For example, if you want to, get a man, it's okay for you to, try to reach out to him, have that urge. But that does not mean you have to. Don't be a slave to your mind. That, oh, I had an urge, I acted upon it. That's not an excuse. The urge is understandable. Second thing with consistency is something that could really help a lot of people is understanding that, let's say you have a pattern. I'll need a minute.
Sure. So while she's gone, I just want to say real quick, I just remembered what I wanted to say. And what I wanted to say is a big habit that people need to break and a way to be consistent with your routine. What like moves you out of being inconsistent. So everything we've been talking about is like all the mistakes that stop you from being consistent, right? A big one I'm seeing is almost like trying to justify everything that's happening in your 3D analysis, giving like too much context to this happened because of this and this and that and that. I get that sometimes we need to draw the correlation and see what the pattern is, but also a lot of times it's coming from like this analysis paralysis and the overthinking state that you're in. So it's also about letting go of the need to constantly analyze what's happening, to constantly give like context and justifications and reasons to why this and that happened. And you just need to keep applying the same thing that you were told until it works. Sometimes the opposite will show up until the new story unfolds fully. Sometimes it'll dissolve and it'll show up here and there. Sometimes it'll completely dissolve and you won't see it anymore. And you'll just see movement. So you're not in control of that, as we know. But at the end of the day, it's about letting go of this constant need to overanalyze, to understand why this is happening. You don't need to always understand why everything is happening. Like sometimes the 3D will 3D. It's always a reflection of you, of course. Sometimes it's delayed. Sometimes it's a reflection of the current self. Does it matter which one it is? No. Because you can shift in this moment and decide something different and you get everything you want tomorrow. You can like continue to do the subconscious work if you want to. But I also want to say like that one decision can override all of the beliefs that you've had around your all of your life, right? Like an example here is, like the person was like had a specific pattern maybe with friendships and relationships before knowing about manifesting, and then at one point you were like, oh, I'm done with this pattern. That one decision has override all of your beliefs from the past. So it's the conscious work that you do is also incredibly crucial. So I I was just like, oh, I thought I would give a few nuggets while you come back. So I was just saying like a habit that has prevented people from being consistent is this 3D analysis, like trying to give a justification and context to every single thing that happened, and this happened because of this and that. And it's fine to like look at the patterns if it's something that consistently shows up, but also a lot of times it's like the analysis paralysis and the need to like figure out
Yes.
this and wanting to know and give reasons. It's like it's okay to not know. You can still just choose what you want.
Yep, agreed. I am with you on that. And that's a good point to make because a lot of times, people think if it's not there, then I really should not be aligning with the new thing. So thank you for saying that. And coming to what I was saying, that was my last point. That is, when you're trying to build a new habit, understand there are two parts to it. We are so focused on changing this habit to that habit that we forget there is a middle part which is stopping that habit. Let's say today you couldn't do the new behavior that you need to engage in, but if you stopped the activity that you were engaging in, that is good enough. Break it into pieces. Don't make it seem like a big thing. You're trying to go for a new life, you're trying to go for a new thing which is scary, which is big. Perfectly fine. Do what you need to do at the moment. Do what your body is allowing you to do, so that you can be at maximum peace and still achieve that goal. And understand, if you don't get it in 24 hours or 12 hours or 10 hours or 4 minutes, that does not mean you cannot have it. And also another thing, it's just not related to consistency, but that's something that just came to my mind, is let's say you have a desire, it comes true, and then you realize you really don't want it. There is no shame in saying I don't want it anymore. Just because you showed up for something so consistently and this and that does not mean you have to accept the way it comes to you, and it has to be a part of it. It does not. You get to
Mhm.
make the choice.
Yeah. Consistently choosing yourself and
Yes.
what you want.
Yes, your needs, your wants, and if you really want to be consistently choosing yourself, you need to choose your needs, your wants over everything, anything else. And that's how you are going to live the aligned life that you're trying to live.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're just going to be make a fool out of yourself, and I don't really think we want that for you. I think that was the last point from my end. Would you like to add something to that?
I feel like I covered a lot, but what I want to just like tie in real quick is like all the points that we covered were basically the mistakes that you do that prevent you from being consistent with the new self and the new story. So it's not that you have to do 1,000 things. It's just like being aware of like the common mistakes that you make and build a new habits, right? Finding an opposing habit to that and choosing the modality and the way that you want to approach manifesting. So it's really about like meet yourself where you're at, choose from there, and keep choosing and keep choosing and keep choosing and keep choosing, even if you see what you don't like, until you get there. And that's really it. Like that is what's said in every single video. Jump on 100 other videos, they will say the same thing. You'll get a bit of an aha moment with another content creator, but then when you're left outside of the YouTube videos or the TikToks, this is what you're going to be left with, you know? So
Yeah.
you can do this.
Yes, you got this. For as long as you consistently choose yourself, you're going to be fine. It all boils down to not choosing the habits, not choosing this, not choosing that, choosing the life, choosing what you want, and choosing yourself. And then see whether you like it or not, whether your habits are aligned or not. If you're too focused on doing and not being, you're doing a disservice to yourself. Stop doing that. Honor your needs, honor your wants, honor the life that you want to live. There's no shame in wanting money, love, anything that you truly want.
Yeah.
Own it and you shall have it.
This was an amazing conversation.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for asking me to do this. This was really fun. We talked about so much, and yeah, I loved every minute of this conversation.
Same here. I laughed every bit of it, and I'm so sorry about my throat. It has been giving me a lot of trouble, but
No, it's all good. And I mean, I had some noise here in the background, so it's fine.
for me, throat is a regular thing. So, yeah.
Yeah, get well soon.
Okay, perfect. Shall we wrap it up here?
Yep, let's. Okay,
Perfect.
please don't forget to follow this beautiful queen. I will put all of our socials and on my podcast, and you can do whatever you want on yours. um, and please go follow her. She has an amazing content, and remember to choose yourself. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you
you.
so much. Bye bye.
Bye.
Where do I leave?